You're listening to Online Pet Health Podcasts with Dr. Megan Kelly. Continuing education for veterinarian rehabilitation therapists. Learn more at onlinepethealth.com.
Hey Vet Rehabbers! Today we look at a training that Sasha Foster did in our business basics area of our online pet health membership. We have a library of training helping you succeed in the business side of vet rehab. Online pet health members, you can check it out on the members platform. And for our online pet health free members, we also have a business area there for you with some trainings and PDF downloads. And if you're not already a member, you can go to www.onlinepethealth.com/free to sign up to the free platform. Now, our business basics area in our members platform has training on all the following topics: client acquisition, customer care, marketing, operations and systems, self-mastery, social media, and tactics. And we also have a great webinar called The Business Behind Vet Rehab. This is all about knowing what your number is. And basically that is knowing when you reach your break or even point in the month and start making profits. Now, in this training, Sasha chats to me about having a coach or a mentor in your business. She shares with me how a mentor or coach helps you identify your deficiencies, how to build your practice and your team accordingly, and how to keep the end goal in mind even when you're not sure how to get there, and how it can play a huge role in fast-tracking your business, avoiding mistakes, and being the best possible vet rehabber that you can be. Now, at Online Pet Health, we are passionate about helping and supporting vet rehabbers in their profession and their businesses. So through our 4 Facebook groups, we have a mentor program, and this is free and open to vet rehabbers all over the world. All you need to do is join one of our vet rehabber Facebook groups, and those are the Hydro Vet Rehabbers, Small Animal Vet Rehabbers, Equine Vet Rehabbers, and our Business Vet Rehabbers. You can check out the pinned post and follow the links to sign up as either a mentor or a mentee, and we will pair you up with someone who will offer you the support you need to thrive in your practice. So over to the training with Sasha. Hey Vet Rehabbers, we welcome Sasha Foster. She is here to chat to us. Hi Sasha, thanks for joining me. She is going to be chatting to us about finding a business coach and a mentor to help in vet rehab practice. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to share with us, Sasha. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You know, for myself, I had a number of businesses before I became a vet rehabber, and every one of those businesses failed. And that was very hard to watch businesses fail.
We've all had them, don't worry.
So after my 6th business failed, I went and decided that I was going to hire a coach. And I did Robert Kiyosaki's coaching program. And this coaching program was no holds barred. My business coach, Travis, I had to take a professional personality test and send him my business plan. And I mean, it was this really, really intense thing. And what I got out of that transformed the entire way I ran my life and my business. And since that time, I haven't had any failed businesses.
Wow.
I think what came out of it most for me when I started was it really highlighted my deficiencies. I think for the vet rehabbers out there who are entrepreneurial in spirit, that takes a high level of bravery and courage and vision. And often in that we find ourselves blind to important details that we're missing. So what Travis brought out to me was, here are my strengths and here are my weaknesses. And now I, as a business person, have a choice. I can either play to my strengths and hire out my weaknesses, or I can recognize I have weaknesses and work on building those up. So I elected to start to hire out for some of my weaknesses. And that was a really big step. I've been there at the first levels of starting your own business, and you wonder, how are you going to pay all your bills? And you need to get enough clients in, and then your business coach says you have to hire somebody. And you're like, I don't know where I'm going to get the money to hire somebody, right? And he said, you can't afford not to. So my first hire was an assistant. And to this day, I still have an assistant. Different ones through the years, but basically the assistant's job is, if I make a list of all the things I do every day, anything that can be delegated to the assistant gets delegated. So all the house stuff that can be delegated, cleaning the house, doing laundry, doing dishes, even my grocery shopping now is delegated to an assistant. On the business side, any emails that I don't need to answer, any client communications that I don't need to answer, all of that gets delegated. And what happened was, and it didn't take 6 months, it took like a month. All of a sudden I was making way more money. Even though I had paid somebody to do these things, what happened was I had stopped doing the non-productive things and could now fit more productive things into my day. And I became significantly more profitable when I hired help. So that was one of the very first things that my first true business coach gave me, was a clear understanding of this principle of delegation and not being afraid to hire out. The next thing that Travis gave me was the importance of having a business team. So I say this as an entrepreneur, but then I also say this to vet rehabbers who are just employees, but you've got a house and a car and kids, and it still is very beneficial to have an accountant and a business coach, and you might even need an attorney. But to have these core people that have your back and your vision for your life as part of their core mission. And I still have the same business team that I started with 15 years ago. So the attorney that did my first patent is still my attorney. The CPA that did my first business plan is still my CPA. So it's really important. And again, I think when you're starting, gosh, I don't know if you remember, I remember talking to my attorney before he was my attorney, and he told me what his fee was. And I thought, I'm going to have to see 4 patients to pay for an hour of his time. How am I going to do that? But what ended up happening is, over time, my business now has an entire intellectual property portfolio. It has assets in it. So it cost more money up front, but now I have passive income streams and intellectual property and business property. And if it was not for that business mentor, I would not have had those things. It took someone wiser than I was to get me on that track. And it was frequently uncomfortable. And it is not fun to have your mentor talk to you about your deficiencies. So
yeah, I think sometimes when we're in it, we're in, like, what I say is like we're in the fog, and there's just this pocket of fog around us and we can't see which way to go. And when you have a mentor, so I mentor a lot of the vet rehabbers, some online pet house, that they just don't know which way to turn.
yeah.
But when you're looking from the outside, you're looking from high up, like from an airplane, and you can quite clearly see, you can see the fog, but you can see where they need to go. And that's how you can direct them when you're in it. And it's the same for me. You know, somebody can share some information about their practice and I can see clearly, you know, which way, and I can direct them. But even in my own business, sometimes I get bogged down, you know, I'm in the fog. So having another person to be able to bounce things off, and like you say, to highlight things that sometimes you don't want to think about. That's the thing.
Oh, for sure, right? It's no fun to think about what your deficiencies are. Like, one of the deficiencies I had that I was completely blind to is I am a big picture person. I am not a detail person. And all of my life, I had been told I was a detail person because I'm type A and I would get A's in school. So I thought I was this. No, I'm a terrible detail person. And once I hired someone else to take care of the details, I realized what a terrible detail person I am.
Yeah. I'm the same as you. I have big ideas and I have the idea, but I actually don't want to put the plan together as how it's going to happen. I want somebody else. This is my idea. I'll come up with all the ideas. You implement it. Just I'll be a part of it. I'll do whatever I need to do it, but somebody else must put the plan together as to how this is all going to work, you know.
Mm-hmm. But that's good to know that about yourself, right? Because then you know, as you're building your team, that you need someone who's a action person. You have the vision, they have the action, and then you have someone who can implement the action. So that's how business mentorship really changed my whole life, is by recognizing how to build my teams. So now, and we use the same strategy at university now, when we hire new people, we hire for our deficiencies, right? Our last hire was not a type A on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Because we have a team of type A's. We don't need another one.
Yeah, I love it. I think, like, I actually was just writing a blog today on vet rehab teams. So when you were talking about the strengths and the weaknesses, you know, I actually put myself back to when I first hired someone. And so I was mentioning this in the blog. And that's exactly what I did. I looked at what my strengths were and I looked at what my weaknesses, and I thought, I need somebody to fill the void of all my weaknesses, because otherwise it's going to continually just bring me down. And my first person I hired just did that exact thing, and it was amazing. We worked so well together. You know, when you do that and you hire people, you actually complement one another. So you were chatting about, you can either hire for your weaknesses or you can improve your weaknesses. So are there any weaknesses that you have tried to improve? Because that's hard. Like when you get stuck in your ways, you are that way. There are things you can change. You can educate yourself. You can try and break those patterns and change things. So for you, did you improve?
So mine was, I was more like a visionary leader. And in doing that, I was blocking myself from the really brilliant ideas in the people around me. So, and this is still a professional goal I have now, is to improve my leadership skills, in particular, my active listening skills. So now, well, let me say, then I would go into a meeting and I would go through the agenda and I would tell people how it was. And now when I go to a meeting, I say, okay, this is what our goal is. And what I'd like to hear from you guys as a team is, how do you think we can achieve that goal? And then I sit back and I close my mouth and I open my ears and I listen. Yes. And by listening, all of a sudden, the world became rich in this different way. I'm a very linear thinker, and the world is not like that. It has a lot more context to it, a lot more texture. And by including the texture from the teams around me, all of a sudden my business went from this like box to more like a tree with lots more connections and a lot more what I would say organic modification ability. Like if people reach out to me and say, hey, Sash, what about this? Or could you maybe change that? I actually sit down and take those things to heart. Where I used to say, oh no, that doesn't fit my business model, right? So it changed a lot. And so active listening and gleaning things from the team around me, which by the way, improves engagement in your teams across the board, really is what I still actively work on.
Yeah, making changes like that, it's good, but it is continually a challenge, right? You keep saying, don't speak, listen. You have to keep telling yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you and I are quite similar in personality. Like as you're talking now, you're just highlighting my deficiencies.
You've got a great team over there at OPH, so I know that you've got yours balanced out.
Oh no, I do completely.
Yeah.
So let's chat about when you're looking for a business coach, like where do you find them? And one of the questions I think probably our vet rehabbers will have is like, how will they know actually what we do? Because it's very different, vet rehab practice. It's not even like a veterinary practice. And I was very fortunate in that my husband was my business coach. And he actually was a client of mine. And he was the one who actually pushed me into opening up my practice, which was called Holistic Vet. And everyone was telling me not to, and he encouraged me to. And once we started dating, I used to say to him, these are the challenges that I'm having. And him being a very successful businessman, he started to give me advice. And it was amazing because the advice that he gave me, I just, from month to month, just the change around, just the peace of mind, all the things that I implemented. But being that type of personality, it was quite difficult to take that from him, and I remember having conversations and thinking to myself, yes, but it's not really how it works in vet rehab clinic, I felt like he didn't quite understand. So what is your opinion on that? Like, I mean, obviously you're in a whole lot of other different types of businesses. So you don't just do vet rehab. You've got other things that you do. But what do you think for the vet rehabbers? I mean, can they just find a normal business coach or somebody who just helps with business? Or do you think that they need to find somebody specifically that has experience in vet rehab clinics?
Well, I think it depends on what a vet rehabber's goal is. I had international aspirations, so I needed an international business coach. And at that time, I mean, that was 15 years ago, there wasn't an international vet rehab coach, right?
Yeah.
So I had to kind of create that. We are so fortunate now that we're in a ways because we have groups like Francisco Maya, who's out of Chicago, has the Canine PT Academy, which is based on human vet or human PT practice, but applied to the vet rehab model. And he's got graduates that come out of there that I teach at CRI, and man, they've got a brilliant skill set. So I think depending on what your vision is, if you've got big aspirations, find somebody who fits with what you're doing and then connect up with them in a way that works for both of you. I've done both mentorship programs where I pay a group. I've also done business mentorship where I just ask someone if they'll be my business mentor. And if that's the case, I carry a lot of coffee. I might run some extra errands for them. I might take extra phone calls for them. Like, there has to be a reciprocal sharing of information. Yeah. So, and I don't know how it is in South Africa or places in Europe or Australia, but in America, we have the Small Business Development Organization. And the entire goal of that group is to help you build business plans, but further connect you up with like-minded businesses. And that was another route that I took because it's very inexpensive. So find someone that aligns with your vision. Francisco Maya's, the K9 PT Academy is up and running. And then find somebody who fits with what you want to do.
Yeah, Francisco is actually going to be doing some training for the online Pet Health members on business basics. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so his whole approach is obviously from the PT side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that you got to find somebody who aligns with who you are and what you do. And sometimes it might be someone in another country, but other times it might be someone that's actually just close by. It might be somebody in your country that is a successful vet rehabber. It might be somebody that's not a vet rehabber at all. Maybe they are in a completely different profession. But if somebody is successful in their business, so it doesn't matter whatever business it is, they've usually paid all the school fees and they know, and that's really what a mentor, I mean, for me, you know, when I mentor my online Pet Health members, I do some strategy calls with them, and I've got a few that, you know, on a monthly basis, we meet up online and we just check to see that they're in the right direction.
Another thing I was thinking that mentorship has really brought to me is, specifically for the vet rehab clinic, is the idea of creating systems. So as a rehabber, I think I'm a little more inclined to have a little bit more like nebulous boundaries. We do what's best for the dog. The appointments might go short or long depending on how the day is going. And so it took me a while to figure out how to develop systems. But my current clinical coach, or my current business coach, Gwen with Spiral Coaching, really challenges me to build systems where I can. So for example, what's the system for scheduling when a client calls? And that sounds really simple.
Yeah.
But if you have 5 people answering the phone and they do this in 5 different ways, if one of them is out, then what happens is the system tilts. So we have created now a system. Everybody answers the phone in the same way. Everybody schedules patients in the same way. We set up our patient the same every day. They may not get the same treatments, but all of your stuff is available right there. And then really importantly, our workflow is now systemized. And I was quite resistant to doing that at first. I'm not sure why I was, because now I love it so much. But for example, I will have a day that's just evals. And on one day, I'll do 8 evaluations. And the process for every one of those patients is exactly the same. And by following that process, at the end of the day, we have all 8 patients completed, paperwork done, home programs done, everybody's scheduled for their follow-ups, and everybody makes it to yoga at 5:30, right?
Boogie dancing.
And before we had that system down, we wouldn't make it to yoga. Yeah. So I think the other thing a business coach can help you do, and especially someone, Gwen comes from the human PT world, so like Francisco, she brings that perspective to clinic. They can really help you think about systems and how to put them in where you can.
Operations manual is so important, and it helps especially to have consistency so that you don't forget anything, and it just makes things work better. If somebody's sick, somebody else can do that other person's job. But I remembered now what I'd forgotten.
Yes.
So it was about the school fees. So when I mentor these online pet health members, when I mentor all of you guys, when I'm chatting to you guys, I want to teach you all the things that I did wrong. I want to tell you so that you don't have to pay those school fees. Because, a lot of us, and a business coach, Sushi, hey, a business coach would have gone through all of this already. You see, they've learned the mistakes, they've paid the school fees, and now they can actually give you the tools so that you don't have to go through that. And you can actually fast track your career. You don't have to spend 10 years or 6 companies, that are not making profits. And, only once you've gone through that can you learn. Otherwise, you can fast track it and find someone to guide you.
Yes, exactly. And then I think the other thing that's really important to bring up when we talk about mentorship is there are business mentors and there are clinical mentors.
Yeah.
And those things may not be the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think a mistake that we sometimes make is we take advice from the people around us because that's where we're comfortable receiving advice. But really what you're looking for in a business coach is someone outside your circle that you said can give you this broader perspective. And I wouldn't necessarily take business advice from your clinical mentors, not unless they also have thriving businesses. Because I find that often the brightest clinical people are really, really skilled in clinical stuff, but not necessarily highly skilled in business, and vice versa.
And also, you shouldn't really have any type of relationship with them because, as you say, you need to point out things about them which they're not going to like. So if you're slightly close to that person, then emotion and hurt comes in. You get hurt when that person says, and your reaction to it is very emotional and not businesslike. When somebody that you're not connected with points those out, then you go, oh, okay. And so it's like that now with my husband. He gets so angry. He says to me, why don't you listen to me? It's exactly what I said. Because then I'll say, I spoke to so-and-so and this is what they suggested in this regard, whatever. And he'll go, that's exactly what I said. But when he said it, it didn't, resonate with me. And that's what happens sometimes, Sometimes you just need somebody who's outside that closeness, for you to be able to accept, okay, like that's quite harsh, but I'll take it,
Yes. And it gives you perspective too. Like, I do have to say that there were things that my business coach said to me that I ended up not choosing to follow. Like at the time I was starting in canine rehab, I was also starting a human business. And he thought that human business model was a stronger model. And my heart wasn't as much in that one as it was in the animal rehab. So I went with the animal rehab. So you don't always have to listen to everything they say. Take what you like, leave the rest. But I do think business mentorship, if you are looking to go to the next level, whether you are an employee or you own your own business, I think business mentorship is the way to go.
And how often do you see yours? So just to give the vet rehab as an idea.
So when I started out many years ago, I met with my business coach weekly because I was building a business. Now in my professional life, last year when I was going through a really challenging time, I met with her every couple weeks because I was trying to actually change my thinking and I needed to check in with her a lot to do that. Towards the end of the year, I switched it to every quarter. And then when I found out my colleague was going to be out of clinic for 6 weeks, I called her and said, can I meet on Monday? So every quarter or as needed. How's that?
Yeah. And I think also another thing I want to point out is that you also have other people which are called life coaches. So sometimes a business coach is actually not who you need. Like sometimes, like if I think about my life, I've seen a life coach before, a few times. And last year, I saw her a few times too. And sometimes when you are just changing direction, or you're just not sure which way to go, looking at your goals for your life, and need somebody just to bounce some things off, they don't ever tell you what to do. They just dig down deep so that you actually get into what you truly want. And then you leave there, and then the next day or two, you're like, like, I get it, like I've got it. So they never ever say, this is what you need to do. You actually work it out. They help you in order to be able to find the solutions to your own problems and your own questions inside of you. So that's another type of coach, which also sometimes is beneficial.
Yes, yes. And I think once your business grows, your primary coaching team becomes your CPA, your attorney, your other business people in your circle. And it will grow and change as you grow and change too. So it's always okay to cancel this business coach and hire a different one.
Yeah.
You need to find the things that fit with where you are today.
Yeah, sometimes that person's right for you now, and in a year's time you've grown and you need someone else. So great.
Exactly.
Sasha, thank you so much. Awesome
You're
chat.
welcome.
I loved
It's
it.
nice to visit.
Cheers, bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the subscribe button so you get notified every time I load a new podcast. And please, if you get a moment, head over to Stitcher or iTunes and leave me a review. It's a really lonely job being a podcaster, and so the only time I get to hear from you or know that you're out there is when I get a review. And know that I read every single one of your reviews. So to those of you that have left reviews, I want to say a very, very big thank you. Every time we get a review, it really helps to get the Veterinary Rehabilitation Podcast out there to all the vet rehabbers all over the world. Alright, vet rehabbers, so if you are looking for more continuing education in the field of veterinary rehabilitation, head over to onlinepethouth.com. Go be awesome, guys.